2 weeks, we asked you to think, reflect about the topic, which was we are global citizens, the world through my eyes. And most of you rise to the challenge, because it was a challenge, and produced some amazing work that you can definitely see all around the school. And we tried to recognize this through a little video that shows what happened in primary and in secondary. So this is the world through our eyes.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. The sharpest words wanna cut me down. I'm gonna send a blood, gonna drown a mind. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. It's my skin. The fire away. 'Cause today I won't let them shake it. We are bursting through the barricades. We won't say won't let them break me down. I know that there's a place for us. Oh, we are cut me down. I'm gonna send a blood, gonna drown a mind. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a blood, gonna drown a mind. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me. This is me.
I wonder in my world to be fairness, friendship, um, and I want everybody to be fair with everybody, and there can be forgiveness for everybody, and everybody have to have any equal census of everybody, and everybody has equal and fairness stuff like clothing, money, or houses, or water, food, and electricity.
Okay, so we are global citizens. We see the world through our eyes. And please, I invite all of you to actually go and see the exhibition throughout the school. We are Global Citizen. You can go, it's in a little bit everywhere here in the primary and secondary section. So go around, look at the work that you produce. It's amazing. We also invite you to go and look at the beautiful Mongolia that you can see here at the entrance of the theater. With pictures that have been taken by staff, students, and that really show how beautiful is this country. Okay, so please go and visit it. And finally, there is the story walk outside. Maybe some of you had the opportunity in the morning to go and read the book. So we invite you to read the book on the world. Okay, so that's what's going on at the moment. And we have a special guest, as you can notice here on the stage, which is the French ambassador, Monsieur Sébastien Surin, who's going to answer one of our questions, which was, can you share with us some of the cultural shock that you had in your career or your life? And if you can just do it here, that's perfect. So, can we give it a round of applause?
Good morning, everyone. Oh, that is quite strong. So my name is Sebastian Surin, as you can see. I'm the French ambassador to Mongolia. Maybe some of you also have diplomats in their family, people working in embassies who have been working in embassies. If it's the case, please raise your hands so that I feel less alone. Okay, there's one. Thanks.
That means it are your great.
I see you, oh, two actually, oh, three, wow. I feel less alone now, it's less impressive. I see that many of you are wearing some traditional garments and that all looks very beautiful. I'm wearing the traditional suit of my own tribe, which is diplomats, which is usually a suit. This being said, maybe I should start with a few words on the questions about my career and my life. So about my life, maybe. So I was born in France. Both of my parents are French, and my grandparents and a few generations up, which I think is a bit unusual now, and I think it's a good thing that we have more mixing and more experience of families with different backgrounds. I gather that many of you here actually are in that case, like your parents are coming from different cultures, different languages, different countries, and that is definitely a gift that is given to you at birth. That you are familiar with different places, different cultures. Many of you coming from abroad here, or some of you coming from here, from Mongolia, and being exposed to a very rich mix of cultures. It is really something you shouldn't take for granted. It's a bit of gold you have in your hands for the rest of your life. I studied in France, and then I studied in Germany, and then I chose to work for the diplomatic service, which meant that my life would be alternating between being in Paris but dealing with international affairs, with our relationship with different countries and different people, and being abroad, and there I would be representing my own country and my own society into a different environment, which is what I'm doing now. I've been here only 2 months, so anything I could say about Mongolia, consider that I have a vast experience of only 2 months, so I don't know much. But I do know a bit about different places I've been living in. Some places I've been spending 3 or 4 years. Some places I've been only spending a couple of weeks, but usually in a very dense endeavor and a very, very dense experience of discovering the country, how it works, the do's and the don'ts. And maybe there's something I can try and share with you.
For example, what are the do and don'ts in some of the countries that you encounter?
So the do's and don'ts actually relate to, I think, a few themes, a few issues. One of them is the relationship to space. In some places, it's quite okay to be very close to each other, COVID or no COVID. In other places, you would, have quite a distance, and you should try and be aware of how comfortable people might be culturally when dealing with space. You might find places where everyone is crowding in a bus and it's all right, and other places where everyone is keeping a very big distance. It's not that they don't like you, it's just that they need space, they are used to it, and one should respect that as well. Another topic is time. Some cultures and some people, and I will come back to that difference, need to plan ahead, and they need to be reassured, and they need to make sure they have thought of every single possibility of what could happen. Some other people think, oh no, that's not the way you plan for the unexpected. You should not plan ahead, because you should be reacting to things as they happen. Both, I think, have something to it. Both approaches are useful. My point here is, be aware that there are different ways to consider time. How much time you have, how much time you need, how you manage your time. I know your teachers will ask you to do things in advance. And they're right. Do in advance what you can do in advance. And I think it's a useful tool as well to think, oh, okay, I've planned this, it's very detailed here, actually it doesn't work, so I'll just step aside and do something else because that works better. And that has been my experience, for example, in emergency situations where you need a plan, you need procedures, you need to know where you're going, but you also need to be aware that that doesn't apply now. You had a very nice plan for something, but things have changed, and you're aware of it, and then you adapt. And what you need to develop is also that skill of adaptation, and I think your generation needs that even more, because the world is changing, because the planet is changing, not necessarily in a very nice way. So it would be very much up to you to be able to adapt, to be agile, to be flexible. Another field where I see shocks can happen is the relationship to authority. Is it something that is almost sacred? And anyone in a position of authority, because they are elected leaders, or sometimes natural leaders, or self-proclaimed leaders, or the parents, or the teachers. In some cases, in most cases, they deserve respect, and they deserve respect when they've earned respect as well. It's as much people of authority asking for your respect as you deciding that they've earned it. But the relationship to authority can be extremely different, and I'm quite sure here you've had cases where some kids were, sitting very laid back in their seat, and not looking very prepared, but actually very focused on what they were doing, and other kids making sure that they were behaving very respectfully, as they should, but sometimes only behaving like that, and not really respecting their teachers or people who deserve respect. So that relationship to authority is something very different from one culture to another, and I'm quite sure that with your different backgrounds, you can share about that. In some places, you wouldn't, look at your king or speak of them with the same words as you would speak of your friends. And in other places, the president is someone you can bump into in the supermarket because they're going for shopping, and that's all right. Now, this is what I can tell you about different cultures. I have a couple of things to add to that. The first one is that you have as many individuals as you have cultures. So do not take it for granted that this person is coming from this country, oh, I know someone else from this country, so they would react the same way, they would behave the same way. You are different, and you should respect that as well. And you should be also on the lookout for individual behaviors, individual taste. Like in the country where I come from one region to another, people will have different relationship to the things I mentioned, like space and time and authority. or food is also a good marker of differences. But in the same family, my mother, for example, loves to hug people. I'm less at ease with that, and it's okay, but we are sharing lots of cultural elements, even though we are two different individuals. So beyond cultures, also think of how individuals might have their own personality. That brings me to another issue, which is do not let yourselves put in a box. Usually there's just one box. Oh, you're a woman. You are coming from Asia. Oh, I know, you are coming from that region. I know you work, so your work actually defines you. You are all of that together. You are from a specific grade. You are a boy or a girl. You have your own ideas. You have the identity given by your parents. And what makes you unique is these different identities. So make sure that you're not put in one box, which is usually a cultural or a religious box, but your identity is much more rich and much more varied than that. So keep that in mind. Culture is one element among many other choices, and the more you grow up, the more you'll see, well actually, when I was a kid, we were all saying more or less the same, but now I've got my own ideas, I've got my own positions, I've got my own experience, and that is what defines me. Now, to come back to the cultural shocks, I've been thinking about it a bit since Ms. Peru asked me to prepare for this intervention. And I came to the idea that I have more experience of misunderstandings, if not shocks, with people who are culturally quite close to me than with people who are culturally quite remote from me. That brings me to two conclusions. The first one is that I've been traveling and I've been living and working abroad for 25 years now. I have seen more often, and I've been surprised more often by how close we are than by how different we are. So do not think that because someone is coming from a different language or different religion, that you don't share that much. You usually share more than you think. Also, be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for values you share, experiences you share, and as kids or teenagers for some of you, you probably share even more than adults because you are going to a school. Hopefully, most kids can go to a school, not all of them, unfortunately, because you are usually part of a family, you're not on your own, because you are building up your own personality, and that is something you share with many kids and many teenagers around the planet. So you probably share more than you think with others. It also brings me to another conclusion, which is when you think you're close to a culture, when you think you're close to someone or one of these boxes I mentioned, then you should think again, and you should reflect whether you know them as well as you should. In a previous job, my role was organizing visits of heads of state and heads of government, prime ministers, a few kings, many presidents in France. 4 visits. They would be meeting with my president, with my prime minister, with lots of other people. And my experience is that the more difficult delegations, the more difficult visits were usually coming from countries European countries mostly, very close to us. So I thought about it, and it's probably because we take again for granted that, oh yeah, well, they're Germans, I know them, I speak their language, I've studied there, I've worked there, so I know them, I know what they expect. And that is when you miss something, when you don't ask the right questions.
And that's what leads to those misunderstandings.
Sorry?
That's what leads to some of those misunderstandings
Yes.
that we can have.
Asking the right question is probably one thing that this school, any school, should teach you. And I might stop on this note, and if there are questions, if you have some questions,
Yes. Do you have
I'd be
any
happy.
questions you ask the ambassador? No? Okay. Maybe you can-
There are no silly questions, there are only silly answers.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have Thank you. I would like to give Ms. Wu the opportunity to talk a little bit about what's the next step, because we asked you over the last 2 weeks to take some action, to talk about what's the world through your eyes and how we are global citizens. We're going to talk about a little initiative that's going to come very, very soon. So Ms. Wu?
Hello. Before I start, can I need a little help from you. Do you know how to say hello in Mongolian? Sanbenu. Okay, I can start now. Hello, ni hao, sanbenu, sawadika, hola, bonjour. That's it. So that's my identity. That's my experience, like, cultural experiences. Okay, so what are you gonna say to me? I heard, yeah. So, for those who don't know me yet, okay, so I am Ms. Wu, the Service as Action Coordinator. So glad I have this chance to talk about some service opportunities that emerged from the week of global citizenship. So this week, as you know, is to celebrate and reflect on your identities and cultures, and how all of this connects you with the world and help you become a global citizen. So when going through the photos, presentations, and your reflections, we noticed that many of your reflections actually has well linked to a CNN initiative called Call to Earth. As you can tell from the name, this movement is about conservation, environmentalism, and sustainability. So we would like you to think about how you can take a step forward from what we have started here. Now, I'd like to share with you that how you can take, what action you could take to help you become a true global citizen by sharing your thoughts and voices with the world through hashtag Call to Earth. Many of you, not yet, go on. Many of you have submitted your photos to the activity Beautiful Mongolian. So what you can do to take a step further is to add a few lines of descriptions to your photo and share ideas about how are you going to protect the beautiful places you care about so much. So then you post it, hashtag it, and share in your social media account. Or you can simply organize a conversation in your community, share photos and ideas, record a conversation, and post it. You are welcome to share your photos and videos with me and Mr. Scott. We are happy to post them for you in ISU social media account. So that's one way. There's many different ways. What I said is just recommendations, some suggestions you could do, right? So next slide, please. This is another example from the activity, The World Through My Eyes. So this is from a grade 8 student. So she's using a photo of the view outside her window. She actually advocating a sustainable city development plan. Before I read this, I even didn't know there's some sorts of issue actually existing. So her reflection, kind of like cause me to think, and I want to find out more, and start conversation with the people in the community. As simple as that. You advocate for something, and you make impact. Next slide, please. There's another example from a group, grade 7A project. They used different drawings to express one theme, two different sides of Mongolia. So you can see the green Mongolia, the polluted Mongolia. There's another one, green one, beautiful one, polluted. So it's very simple, drawings, but I find them very compelling and powerful. Yeah, they cause both examples I shared here. They are not only make people be aware of the situation or problems here, but also make people like want to find out more and want to do something about that. So never underestimate the small actions you take here. They could make big impact. You never know. So if you have ideas beyond the activities of beautiful Mongolia or the world through my eyes, or simply you just inspired by the conversations and what else, the presentations happened this week. You can just, you want to do something about that. Please reach out to me, and let's work together to make it happen. So the list here are all students' initiatives. It's happening right here. I can tell you all of them are actually inspired by the Week of Global Citizen or the CAA initiative. Of course, to contribute, you don't need to start new things always, right? So if you wanna, if any of this interests you, please feel free to sign up to help. In the end, I would like to emphasize that the Week of Global Citizens or the CAN initiative should be the starting point of the journey. The great things we have started here in the past few weeks, or the great conversation we have started here in the past few weeks. Please, let's carry on and continue to make the community and the world better. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to finish this assembly by a word from our school director, Mr. Enda. Thank you.
Thanks. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Everybody doing well? I wanted to have a final word here to thank you very much for your participation, action, reflections, and connectedness this week. And for that matter, at all times. Really, the community you've built among yourselves is an admirable and beautiful one. I want to thank you for the enthusiastic and genuine ways that you've approached the themes of our celebration of global citizenship. And I want to offer special thanks also to Ambassador Suru for coming in today and taking the time to share his unique experiences with us on the themes of culture shock and culture in general. As you all know, this week allows us to pause and consciously reflect on our shared humanity and our shared responsibilities to that humanity. All of us are indeed working together, acting purposefully and here in Mongolia to make positive changes that we hope will reverberate beyond in the broader world. I'm proud of your goodwill and your sense of collective identity and purpose, and I feel that the events of this week will set in motion even greater commitments to steward and improve our natural world and the other environments in which we live together. Thanks again, and have a really good wrap up to the week.
Mongolian clothes, that's Mongolian Day, okay?
Be sure to celebrate our host country with us.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. Thank you for all the teams that participated and helped. And we're going to have a little work regarding your breakfast.